It was one rowdy living room. That was because Jen, Beth, Rob, and I were cooped up on the couch, all talking over the movie and straining our voices to be heard over one another. It did not help that a thunderstorm had broken out around early evening, and by this stage, the rain outside was at full blast. It was nothing out of the ordinary for the four of us to gather at my place on weekends. On this particular occasion, while my parents were out of town to plan a funeral service with Dad's side of the family, my friends and I intended to reap our thrills with a horror movie marathon. But, thanks to the storm's ferocity, a power outage put an abrupt end to those plans. I fetched a few torches, placed some burning candles on the coffee table, and eventually found a new means of entertainment, the Ouija board Mum had bought for decorative purposes. The Ouija board set in motion very strange happenings. The front door clicked open when I was sure I had locked it, and several times a picture frame fell off the wall. Beth, who, for the most part, sat quietly with a haunted expression, gave a profanity-laced scream, believing that she saw a woman's pale, glowing-eyed face floating near the ceiling when the lightning flashed the room up. This spooked her half to death, and paranoia drove her home early. The consensus was that Beth was a squeamish baby, and soon, when the rest of my friends headed home in the heavy downpour, I had the house to myself, navigating its gloom in the absence of an active light bulb, and migrating to my bedroom where a solar-charged lava lamp diffused an orangey-yellow glow. I was unable to fall asleep because I had the hair-raising feeling of being watched. I noticed some strange movements coming from the human-shaped shadows cast by the lava lamp and clearly outlined on the walls. Those shadows moved with a life of their own. I was trying to distract myself with a novel about UFOs when I looked up to see a living shadow at the foot of my bed. It was a darkly manifested humanoid with no discernible features, only a reddish orb at the center of its blob for a head. This silhouette was not a vague, two-dimensional shape imprinted on the wall. It was an actual presence suspended in midair, blotting out where the lava lamp should have lit up. It floated like a thing in water. Then its slowly gliding shadow body drifted to my bedside to seemingly watch me with its orb-like eye. Its proximity overwhelmed me with fear, and I hid myself under the bed sheets, not wanting to see its statue-like presence. 2 hours passed before I braved a peek over my blanket, and it was still there, hovering in the exact same spot, with the stillness of a gargoyle. For the next 5 hours, I hid panting under the blankets, and during all this time, I heard a male-sounding voice in my head telling me to die. I covered my ears to try and block out the words, but the voice went on speaking in my head. I believed then, and still believed, that the endless mantra of die, die, die was telepathically transmitted by the entity to my mind, so covering my ears did nothing. I waited until the first rays of morning to pull down my bed covers, and by that time the living shadow had vanished, leaving me quite traumatized and unable to even look at the Ouija board. The event weighed heavily on my mind. It was the night I had my reality breached by an otherworldly visitor, as black as the abyss, by oceans of spiders.